So in our review, we're going to take a look at adding variable expressions when we have fractions. So we know that when you add fractions together, you have to have a common denominator. And in this case, we do not have a common denominator as of yet, but we need to make it. Now, our first fraction, 3 over 2b minus 1, well, that looks nice. The variable is positive, and it's in the front, to the left. In our second problem, we have, or second term, we have a polynomial expression. In this case, it's a binomial in the denominator. And the 1 is positive, and the 4b squared is negative. We really want to switch this. We really want the 4b squared to be positive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator both by -1. I'm allowed to multiply anything I want to the one numerator. As long as I multiply the same thing to the denominator, I'll get an equivalent expression. So when I do that, I will get negative b squared. 2 times -1 is -2. And that's going to be over -1 times 1 is -1. -1 times -4b squared is 4b squared. Then I'll rewrite everything else that I have. So now I notice I have this quadratic expression in the denominator. And I know that I'm probably going to have to factor it. So to factor that, I look at my checklist. I know it was a long time ago. Is there a monomial that goes into both terms? No. Is this a difference of squares? Yes. 4 is a perfect square. B squared is a perfect square. 1 is a perfect square. And is this a difference? Yes, we're subtracting. So to factor this as a difference of squares, we know that we will have a binomial pair with a plus and a minus. What is the square root of 4b squared? 2b. So we have 2b plus 1 and 2b minus 1. And of course you can't read that, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. It's a big eraser for big mistakes. 2b minus 1. And so now I'm going to rewrite everything else I have. And at this point, I am ready to deal with the fact I don't have common denominators. So what am I going to have to multiply to this fraction in order to get a common denominator? Well, it already has the 2b minus 1. It does not have the 2b plus 1. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2b plus 1. My middle term already has the right common denominator, so I don't have to worry too much about it. My last term doesn't have 2b plus 1. It doesn't have 2b minus 1 either. So I'm going to have to multiply by the full common denominator, 4b squared minus 1. Because you'll remember that 4b squared minus 1 is equal to 2b plus 1 times 2b minus 1. So now let's multiply everything out. So 3 times 1, 3 times 2b will end up with 6b plus 3. And that's going to be over my common denominator. I'm going to write the common denominator for the answer, but I'm just going to abbreviate it by CD right now to make it go faster. Plus, I don't have to multiply anything here, so I have negative b squared minus 2 over my common denominator. Plus, I have to multiply this out. I get 4b to the third, because b times b squared is b to the third, minus 1b. Because b times -1 is negative b. And that will also be over my common denominator. So now it's time to combine similar terms. I have 6b. Do I have any other just plain b to the first powers? I do. Right here, negative b. So what is 6b minus b? It's 5b. Now I'm not going to write that in the front because I noticed that I have b to the thirds and b squareds. So I've dealt with this term and I've dealt with this term. Let's jump to the b to the thirds to make life easier. Do I have any other b to the thirds? No. So I have 4 b to the third. Do I have any b squareds? I have negative b squared. My 5b was positive. And finally, so I've dealt with this one, and I've dealt with, I've dealt with it. So then I have plus 3 and minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. That's a positive 1. And that's all over my common denominator of, or it can be written either way. Doesn't matter. So let's just write it in binomial form. So we have 2b plus 1 times 2b minus 1. This polynomial expression in the numerator cannot be factored. So at this point, you are done. That is the final answer.